Nigeria World Bank to raise $30 million for vaccine plant. Afrexim Bank tasked Nigeria on Intra-African Trade Fair 2021 participation. Petard pays 7 billion naira as pension gratuities in 2 years. Forex shoots cooking gas above 8,000 naira. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I'm Leah Katun Babatunde Malud Nabi. A very good morning to you from Abuja, the nation's capital. And of course, it is a public holiday. Now we start by informing you that the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Nigeria and the World Bank are collaborating to raise $30 million to finance a vaccine plant. The Vice President stated this in Abuja at the International Conference on Health Access and Socio-Economic Development Beyond COVID-19, the first multi-sectoral approach to solution finding. He added that the global trend in health had made it critical for Nigeria to establish its own vaccine production facilities.
The administration has established the Healthcare Sector Intervention Fund Facility, which has disbursed about 76.98 billion, that's about $185 million, to finance the acquisition and installation of critical medical care equipment, as well as the expansion of production lines in various pharmaceutical companies across the country. The CBN is also supporting a number of research and development initiatives in the health sector.
Previously, it has been each profession or discipline to its own tent, and that is the first wall that my team and I have decided to demolish in terms of generating new knowledge.
The conference was organized by the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, NIPRID. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says the e-Naira would ultimately boost remittance inflow to the country. The Apex Bank stated this in a document titled Design Paper for the e-Naira. According to the CBN, the e-Naira is meant to create a secure and cost-effective process for remittances, amongst other benefits. Latest figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria show that currency in circulation rose by 58.36 billion naira to 2.84 trillion naira in the month of September, from 2.79 trillion naira in August. The currency in circulation rose to 2.81 trillion naira in July, from 2.74 trillion naira at the end of June. It fell to 2.79 trillion in May, from about 2.8 trillion naira at the end of April. According to the CBN, the broad money supply rose to 5.83% in August, from 2.91% in July. This was largely driven by the growth of net foreign assets and net domestic assets by 12.35% and 4.3% in August 2021 compared to 1.84% and 3.17% in July. Now, the Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, Petard, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, says more than 7 billion naira has been paid as pension gratuities in the last 2 years. Dr. Chioma, who stated this, said in 2020, commencement of an expanded revalidation and recomputation exercise was approved. This was in a bid to onboard verified pensioners not on payroll, clear all outstanding pension arrears, and resolve all complaints of short payments and outstanding gratuities for the civil service pensioners and their next of kin. while noting that the post-verification validation for the parastatal pension department is ongoing. She added that at the end of the project, the Directorate was able to review, compute, recompute and pay over 7 billion naira to more than 24,000 pensioners. Bank Afreximbank and the AFCFTA Secretariat announced late last month the operational rollout of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System (PAPS), a revolutionary financial market infrastructure to enable instant cross-border payments in local currencies between African markets by simplifying cross-border transactions and reducing the dependency on hardcore currencies for these transactions. Now, both institutions say PAPS will boost intra-African trade significantly and underpin the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area (AfCFTA). Dare Akoju is the founder and CEO of MFS Africa, a leading Pan-African fintech company, and he joins me to take a look at the issues of fintech and transactions in the African continent. You're welcome, Mr. Dare, to Business Express.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now you are the center of this massive revolution on the African continent, if I may call it, simplifying transactions cross-border from one country to another. Well, in the face of all these, is Africa really ready for cross-border transactions?
Thanks so much. And the answer is yes. Africa is not just ready, but Africa was built on cross-border transaction, I will argue. The trade routes on the continent predate even colonization, and some of them are still at play today. If you look at places, routes like Cameroon to Nigeria, Benin Republic to Nigeria, if you look between, Mombasa all the way to Goma in East Africa, or between Lubumbashi all the way to Dar es Salaam or Durban in the port. So those trade routes has always been there. The only thing is payment or settlement of those trades has always been cumbersome, complicated, and what a company like MFS Africa is doing is to simplify this using digital technology.
So, what is the room for expansion of fintech services on the continent? I'm asking this question because a lot of people will still want to do transactions with their cash, carrying hard currencies from one country to the other.
Absolutely. And let's just take one close to home, the corridor between Abidjan all the way to Lagos. As you know, there is a road, and every day traders drive on that road, taking buses all the way from Lagos to Abidjan and the way back, and crossing Cotonou, Lomé, Accra in between. And yes, it's still true that a lot of them are still carrying cash, but over the last 10 years, if you look at digitalization of payments in Nigeria itself, which is happening at a rapid rate. If you look at Benin Republic with mobile networks there, the likes of MTN, Move, who are also digitalizing pretty rapidly. You look at Togo, same thing is happening. You look at Ghana, all the way to Abuja. So we have had these domestic solutions that are making it easier and easier for people to trade digitally within country. What the company like MFS Africa doing is to connect these local schemes to each other. So the experience that you are enjoying at home, you can enjoy the same when you're crossing border. So now if you want to make a trade between someone in Abidjan and Lagos, you don't have to carry cash or put in buses to drivers along that road. You can simply use the comfort of your phone, the same that you use in Cote d'Ivoire today, to make domestic payment, to make a digital payment straight to someone in Nigeria. So that's really what we set out to do. We now connect, close to 40 countries across the continent, and we continue to see that our growth is being driven by those historical trade routes and the digitalization of the existing payment and relationship between traders on there.
So what is the future of transactions like? And of course, the smaller fintech companies, are you carrying any one of them along?
We are. You may have seen that since 2018, we've been a quite active investor ourselves. Earlier this year, we announced two investments, one in Uganda in a digital lending company called Numida, which is supporting really small, medium and small businesses in Uganda with digital loans. We have made another investment in Maviance in Cameroon, where the stated intention there is to support again digitalization of the corridor between Cameroon and Nigeria, which, by the way, is the largest in Africa and in the top 20 in the world. It's over $2.5 billion a year that moves between those two countries, mostly from Cameroon to Nigeria. And we will continue doing this quite actively in places like Nigeria, in places like Cote d'Ivoire and the Francophone Monetary Union, the XOF zone, as they call it, as we continue to look for partners to deepen our presence and extend our reach. Our stated ambition is to cover the whole continent, so all 54 countries and 500 million people. So we are very conscious that we won't be able to do that on our own, and we will need to partner to get there.
Okay, in this partnership now, what will be the role of the central banks in the individual member states?
Central bank are so critical stakeholders for us, and as you know, they have multifaceted mandates. One of them being financial inclusion, which people like us obviously help with by help digitalization and getting more and more people into the formal financial service sector. But they also usually have some mandate around. I want to, the currency and how do they protect, supervise exchange, cross-border exchange with the countries. So we continuously engage with them, and what you just announced, we are an active stakeholder is the PAP system. We are at the table engaging with both Africa and the central banks that are going to be part of it, and MFS Africa is going to play a key role in actually making that vision a reality.
Okay, so what is the volume presently of these transactions on the continent? And perhaps, since I'm Nigerian, what is the volume in my country that is leveraging on your system?
So, it's obviously, these numbers, you have to triangulate them a little bit. We don't have solid sources. But if you look at person-to-person transfers, this which will normally be classified as remittance, we are talking about $16 billion a year that moves within Africa, excluding North Africa. So this is sub-Saharan Africa. We're looking at about $15 to $16 billion a year. Of that, about $5 billion is around Nigeria. So, $5 billion move from places like Cameroon, Ghana, Benin Republic, Cote d'Ivoire, Chad into Nigeria per year. So that's about 1/3 of that volume is around Nigeria. If you add trade to that, again, the numbers are a little bit hard, but the best estimate we have is somewhere between 120 to $150 billion that you can add to that volume still in sub-Saharan Africa. And as you know, this is largely around few key hubs, I would say, Nigeria being one of them, Kenya be another one, South Africa be another one, Cote d'Ivoire being the fourth one in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay, so perhaps before I let you go, of course, PAPS is very, very heartwarming to most people who are innovation inclined. But then, could you just throw more light and tell me, how will it address issues of illicit financial flows and, other cross-border financial crimes?
So that's a very good question. We all have to be mindful of regulation and mindful of money laundering and terrorism financing. That the financial sector has a big role in fighting that. What I have to say is that we are compliance first as a company. So we part of the service that we provide our partners is the trust into the network. So we have a very stringent and very rigorous compliance program that makes sure that each of our partners, each of our nodes that we connect, so the companies that connect to us to either move money across border or facilitate cross-border payment for their own clients have to go through a rigorous onboarding process, and we continuously monitor them as they transact onto our network. So I can safely say that MFS Africa make sure that at least the transactions that are on our network are transactions that are being checked, and the people executing those transactions are people that we not only check when they join us, but we continuously monitor. The other thing I have to say is digitalization is a better way to fight those problems, money laundering and terrorism financing. And the flows that are being digitalized are easier to monitor than the ones that are not. So we are not going to pretend that all the problems we solve by digitalization, but at least digitalization will continue to reduce it. And the more we move from cash, the more we move from offline to online, the safer all of us will be when it comes to those issues.
I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Daria Kodjo. He is the founder and CEO of MFS Africa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Next is our Surviving COVID-19 series put together by Musa Abubakar.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank.
That's where we applied, but nothing happened. I got a loan. In fact, just like an agent said, training of a woman is not a nation. I will invest it in at least in raising women. It's my passion, women and youth. Because what I'm actually looking for is a ground, a place where you see. Sometimes I see some women. In fact, sometimes I've gone to Mabuchi. I was sourcing for women. I said I need about 50 women in Mabuchi that I'll come and train free of charge. So I've gotten some people there, and they told me I should go and see their chief. Which, as I came back from this August or the meeting, I said, okay, if I get that myself back and I have some money, I'll still go there so that I can train them.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Of course, Rosemary, we share in your optimism. Now, still with trade, the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, has urged the federal government to mobilize its public and private sectors to harness economic opportunities in the forthcoming Intra-African Trade Fair IATF. Executive Vice President, Corporate Governance and Legal Services, Afreximbank, Dr. George Elombe, gave the charge at the occasion of the Nigeria Roadshow on Monday in Lagos. The roadshow is in preparation for the second Intra-African Trade Fair IATF, scheduled to hold in Durban, South Africa, between November 15 and 21 in 2021. The IATF was conceived by the board and management of Afreximbank in collaboration with the African Union Commission to promote trade and investment within the continent. It is expected to generate more than $40 billion in trade and investment deals, an opportunity beneficial to the Nigerian economy. The IATF is attracting over 1,000 exhibitors, about 10,000 visitors, buyers, and conference participants from all 55 African countries in the world. Now, the price of 12.5 kilograms of liquefied petroleum gas, popularly called cocaine gas, which was sold for 7,000 naira about a week ago, has increased to between 8,000 naira and 8,200 naira amidst various concerns by marketers and producers of the commodity. Of the 1.2 million metric tons of the product required by Nigeria, the Nigerian LNG supplies about 450,000 metric tons. This leaves a gap of 750,000 metric tons to be filled by imports. The Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, has said in September that out of the 85,264.8 metric tons of LPG consumed in the country in August, 38,040.46 metric tons were imported. This means that 55.39% of the LPG consumed in the country in August was imported, while 44.61% was supplied locally. The PPPRA data showed that 21,606.3 metric tons was imported from the United States, while 13,044.266 metric tons was imported from Algeria and 12,573.779 metric tons was brought into the country from Equatorial Guinea. We move straight to the commodities market where gold prices inched up on Tuesday as a decline in the dollar and U.S. bond yields provided some support to the precious metal. And still with the energy sector, oil prices fell on Tuesday with Brent down a second straight day after Chinese data shows slowing economic growth and U.S. factory output dropped in September, raising fresh concerns about demand amid patchy recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. Brent crude was down by 43 cents at $83.90 a barrel after falling 0.6% on Monday. U.S. oil fell 33 cents to $82.11 a barrel, having risen 0.2% in the previous session and nearly 10% this month. And the Nigerian stock market is closed this Tuesday in commemoration of the Maulud holiday declared by the federal government. However, it opened the week in the red as investors lost 153.15 billion naira fueled by profit taken in large cap stocks, but shares in Asia Pacific rose in Tuesday trade.
Shares in Asia Pacific rose in Tuesday trade, with tech stock in the region jumping following similar gains overnight for their counterparts on Wall Street. In mainland China, the Shanghai Composite edged 0.7%, Hang Seng Index topped 1.41%, and the Nikkei also appreciated 0.65%. European stocks were little changed on Tuesday, struggling to grab the baton despite positive global sentiment. The pan-European stock 600 hovered fractionally above the flat line in early trade, with basics resources adding 0.9%, while insurance stocks fell 0.5%. U.S. stock futures were muted in early morning trading Tuesday as investors geared up for a big day of earnings, while in Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 posting gains, while Namibia's overall index is marginally negative. Boss de Able, Business Express.
Thank you, Boss. And this is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget, you can access all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can also communicate with us. And the handle is NTA News. Now we value your feedback. Do join us again on Wednesday for another package. I'm Leah Katung Babatunde saying enjoy the holidays and God bless Nigeria.